Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're gearing up for the Cambridge A-Level Information Technology Advanced Theory exam, specifically Paper 3 for November 2025, you might be staring at that syllabus and feeling, well, a little overwhelmed. Totally normal. But here's the secret. We aren't going to look at this exam as some massive, daunting hurdle. Nah, we're going to treat it like a formula. And in this Explainer, we're going to crack that formula wide open together using the exact structures and concepts those examiners are actively hunting for.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, A-grade exam strategies. Then, defining tech, specifically transport and DHCP. Third, we're comparing CPM and Gantt charts. Fourth, discussing the IoT impact. And finally, evaluating risks and systems. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, A-grade exam strategies. Because here's the thing, memorizing the syllabus, that's really only half the battle. To actually crack the code, you've got to understand the language of the exam itself. Every question is driven by specific command words, and your response has to perfectly match the cognitive demand of that word. Today, our secret weapon is the Model A-grade script. We're going to dissect exactly how top-tier answers are built around 4 absolute critical command verbs: describe, compare, discuss, and evaluate.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining tech, looking at transport and DHCP.
Okay, so our first command word is describe. Now this requires clear, factual recall. You don't necessarily need to analyze the why here. Let's look at question 1A about emerging technologies. When they ask you to describe an autonomous transport system, a perfect answer doesn't waffle around. It starts with a stark, accurate foundation. It's a driverless system operating with little or no human intervention. Boom! Then it immediately follows up by listing the core technologies making it happen: sensors, artificial intelligence, and GPS, all working together to navigate automatically. 2 solid points, 2 clear marks.
But what happens when the exam asks you to expand that description into a highly specific context, like, say, healthcare in question 1B? Expanding a description means you need practical, concrete examples. A model script isn't just going to say, oh, it helps hospitals. No, it gets specific. It details how these systems reduce human workload by physically delivering medicines and medical equipment right to patients. It talks about transporting blood samples from wards to labs for way faster diagnosis, moving patients in emergency situations to speed up response times, and even safely disposing of medical waste to keep environments sterile and contamination-free. Specificity is literally the key to getting full marks here.
You'll also see the describe command pop up a lot for sequential technical processes. Take a look at this actual exam question about networking protocols. It asks, describe how the IP address is automatically assigned to the network interface card, or NIC.
Step-by-step logic is exactly how you score perfectly here, specifically using DHCP, the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Let's move through it and see how this builds. Step 1. The device connects and sends a broadcast request to locate the DHCP server. Step 2. That server responds by offering an available IP address. Step 3. The device accepts this IP. And finally, Step 4. The server confirms the assignment and hands over any additional network configuration details. If you can clearly describe this precise 1, 2, 3, 4 sequence, you leave the examiner absolutely no choice but to give you maximum points.
All right, on to Section 3, comparing CPM and Gantt charts.
We're shifting gears now to the compare command word. This one requires structural discipline because you absolutely must highlight both sides of the coin. Read this prompt carefully. Students drop marks like crazy on questions like this because they just jump in and start listing all the ways CPM and Gantt charts are different, completely ignoring the first half of the prompt. A true comparison demands both similarities and differences, just like the question explicitly reminds us.
An A-grade script strategically groups these concepts together to hit those similarity marks first. You'd state that both CPM and Gantt charts are fundamental project management tools used to represent tasks and their durations. They both show the sequence of activities, and crucially, they both indicate the dependencies between tasks to help organize workflow effectively. Get those down and boom, you've secured your similarity points.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you handle the differences. You want to build your comparative paragraph super clearly. On one side, you have CPM, which is essentially a network diagram with nodes and arrows. It really emphasizes task relationships and identifies that crucial critical path for the minimum project duration. Contrast this directly with the Gantt chart on the other side. A Gantt chart is a horizontal bar chart along a timeline, heavily focused on scheduling tasks over time with clear start and end dates.
Another vital difference the model script points out, CPM doesn't typically show resource allocation, whereas Gantt charts can include highly detailed information about the exact resources assigned to every single task.
Let's jump into Section 4, discussing the IoT impact.
Time for a heavy hitter, the discuss command word. This one demands exploring a topic from multiple, often totally opposing angles. When the exam asks you to discuss the impact of the Internet of Things on individuals, you've got to recognize that this command is a massive, double-edged sword. You can't just write a glowing review of how amazing smart tech is, and you definitely can't just write a doom and gloom essay about hackers.
To put it simply, a discussion requires a balanced argument mapping out both the positive and the negative impacts. An A-grade response actually physically structures its paragraphs to reflect both sides of the coin. You have to show the examiner you've got a comprehensive 360-degree grasp of the technology's real-world implications.
Just look at how a model answer pairs specific tech with its direct impact here. On the positive side, it pairs smart home devices with increased convenience, like controlling your lighting and heating remotely. It pairs wearable smartwatches with health monitoring, like tracking heart rates to catch potential health issues early. But then it pivots. It contrasts these awesome benefits with severe negative impacts. All that continuous personal data collection, massive privacy concerns, weak security, that leaves these IoT devices incredibly vulnerable to hacking and data theft. Finally, it notes the very real risk of over-reliance. If these automated systems fail, individuals might actually struggle to carry out everyday tasks independently.
Which brings us to Section 5, Evaluating Risks and Systems.
Let's tackle the final, and honestly, the most complex cognitive task on the exam, the evaluate command. Evaluating a system is all about measuring it against its original promises. Whether you're dealing with a new warehouse database or literally any other IT system, you have to justify why we don't just build the thing and walk away.
A truly high-scoring answer details the active role of an evaluation. First off, it determines if the system actually meets the original user requirements and system specs. It ensures the functions are working correctly and producing accurate results. But it goes way beyond just hunting for bugs or missing features. Evaluation assesses whether the database is genuinely user-friendly for the actual workers using it. And crucially, the model script notes that identifying these limitations isn't a bad thing. It provides an opportunity to suggest future improvements, actively guiding developers in their very next round of updates.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we apply that same evaluation and analysis to abstract threats. Business data is constantly at risk from things like malware or cybercrime, which can obviously result in massive data loss or theft. To evaluate and protect a system, we first have to quantify the risk.
Here's the exact methodology required for question 8B on minimizing data loss. Step 1. Identify and record the potential risks. Step 2. Assess each risk based on its likelihood of actually occurring and its potential impact. Step 3. Classify these using a risk matrix, categorizing them into high, medium, or low to help prioritize. And then Step 4, and pay attention, because this is where top students get their marks, assign numerical values or actual financial cost to each risk to estimate the potential loss. By crunching those numbers, organizations can focus their resources super effectively on the absolute most serious threats.
So the crucial point is how you bring all of this together in a big 8-mark evaluate question, like evaluating the use of email by governments. You've got to weigh the pros against the cons and provide a real synthesis. The advantages, they're clear. It's incredibly fast, efficient for mass communication, and highly cost-effective since it totally eliminates printing and postage costs. But the disadvantages are equally significant. Not all citizens have internet access, which creates inequality. There are massive security risks like phishing. Plus, there's the potential for governments to distribute biased information. So an A-grade evaluate answer absolutely must end with a definitive conclusion. Overall, email is highly effective due to its speed and low cost, but it fundamentally has to be used alongside other complementary communication methods to ensure true accessibility, security, and reliability for everyone.
And there you have it. By parsing those command words, describe, compare, discuss, evaluate, you've essentially cracked the code for your Paper 3 exam. But I want to leave you with one final thought. You now know exactly how to describe autonomous transport, discuss the IoT, and evaluate a database based on the syllabus. But technology doesn't just stand still, right? So as you step out of that exam room, how will you use these exact same analytical skills to evaluate the next massive tech revolution headed our way? Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and keep learning. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck cracking the code.